Alright, welcome back to Star Ocean Anamnesis. So today I've got a character guide for you on Cherry Blossom Maria, so let's get started. Blossom Maria is an ace attacker with the highest attack stat in the game. Her first talent, Glorious Cherry Blossoms, nullifies the critical hits that she takes while she's charge assaulting and increases the attack damage dealt of all attackers in the party by 50% while they're charge assaulting. First, we have that attack damage buff, which is the highest attack damage buff that we have in the game, and it's very easy to proc. All you have to do is charge assault, and that is actually very easy for Maria because she doesn't take criticals while she's doing it. Unfortunately, it only applies to attackers, which means that she doesn't really have any party buffing. Her second talent, Expedient Adaptation, increases her attack by 15% or 30% when the hit count is sitting at 50 hits or 100 hits or more. Now, if you would just take a look at Maria's attack stat, it's sitting at 3700, and that goes up even higher with this buff, which, again, that's also very easy to proc, because 100 hits is, that's nothing when you're playing with Blossom Maria. So, this raises her attack up to insane levels. And then her third talent, Spiritual Beauty, reduces her AP costs by 40%. Maria's battle skills have some high AP costs to them, but because of this talent, they get reduced to basically nothing, so she can spam a lot of skills, and that increases her damage output by a lot. And her last talent, Hunting Command Tower, increases her attack by 30% and HP by 10%. Her HP is sitting at 17,000, which is actually very decent for a carry, and her attack 3,700, like I said, highest attack stat in the game. So for her battle skills, we first up have Sinstral Edge Blossom. Take a step to the left and slash at your foe. Its power is determined to multiplying attack by 190%. It does 2 hits, and it costs 14 AP. This is one of Maria's combo openers. It only costs 14 AP, and that goes even lower with the AP cost reduction. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but you can charge assault it to get in close range and use your other skills from there. And then up next we have Dextral Slaughter Blossom. Send out a series of shockwaves while moving to the right. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 460%. It does 2 hits and it costs 31 AP. This is basically the opposite of Sinstral Edge, except it's a little better because it does more damage, and you can use it from range as well. It does cost more AP, but again, not that much more considering that it gets that 40% AP cost reduction. And then we have Northern Cross Blossom, a cross slash followed by an ice cross attack. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 440%. It does 2 hits, costs 30 AP, and it has an ice element. I would say this is Maria's strongest attack, and that mostly comes down to the fact that even though it's a long range attack, you can use it from close range, and it gets some extra hits when it's in close range, which makes its power skyrocket. Plus, you can also charge assault it whenever you need it to get back into long range. And then we have Double Cross Art, a combination of kicks and slashes. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 790%. It does 6 hits and it costs 37 AP. And this is Maria's other strong attack. You can easily charge assault this to get that extra 50% attack damage buff, but it's also kind of slow, a lot slower than Cross. So personally, I would use Northern Cross instead of this one, because Northern Cross also has the long range utility. And then we have her Rush Radiation Bot. Summons auto-attacking units to fire countless beams of light. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 5,500%, and as a post-rush buff, it reduces her AP cost by 50% and gives her 10% HP recovery every 3 seconds for 20 seconds. So first of all, a 5,500 attack multiplier is the highest rush multiplier that we currently have in the game. Maria also has that 3,700 attack stat, so paired with those things, this becomes the strongest rush in the game, hands down. So every single time there's a Maria in your party, you want to let them rush last. Of course, make sure you get that hit count to 100 so you get the extra attack buff, which makes this rush even more powerful. And then as for the post-rush buff, the AP cost doesn't stack with her already existing 40%, but it overwrites it so you get an extra 10%, which is nice. And then she also has that HP recovery, which is something that she's lacking in her talents. So this gives her a lot of sustainability. And now for equipment, Maria uses dual blades, which used to not have a lot of elemental coverage, but nowadays they are some of the strongest weapon types that we have. So the first weapon that I recommend is the Mephistophar. It imbues your attacks with ice, gives you 10% lifesteal when the hit count is above 50 hits or more, and it has an 891 attack stat. So you can get this easily from the coin shop, and it's also very excellent because of that lifesteal, seeing as how Maria is all about hit count based buffs. So I highly recommend you pick this up if you don't already have it. And if you're looking for a gacha weapon, I recommend the Twin Koro Swords, which also have ice imbuement. gives you AP recovery on normals, and when it's maximum broken you also get a 5% life steal, and it has a 964 attack stat. The AP on normals is very excellent, especially right now because not many people are running attack buffers anymore. Everybody's just running Maria, so if you have it on your weapon, that's very good. If you have it maximum and broken, you get that life steal, which also gives her some more sustainability, and of course Ice Element, that's always good. And for the other gacha weapon, I recommend the Mikahaya no Kami, which imbues your attacks with fire, gives you 10% crit chance and 15% crit damage, and at maximum break you unlock 50% AP recovery speed. Now this is mostly here because of the crit chance and crit damage. Maria already has a lot of different offensive buffs, like HP recovery on rush, so lifesteal isn't really necessary, so that's why we go with full-on offense. And I could also recommend the Crimson Fork Tridents. They basically do the same thing, except they have a light element. And as an honorable mention, we have the Baphomet's Blades, which increase your attack by 15% and gives you a lifesteal of 10% HP or more. Now the reason why I recommend this is because Maria has that 3700 attack stat, and with that 15% attack buff, Baphomet's Blades base attack stat goes up to about 1000. And Maria's main attack, Northern Cross, already has an element on it, so you could very easily run this as well, but then you have to deal with no element on your rush. And for accessories, I recommend the Head Sorcerer's Handkerchief, which you could have gotten from the Valkyrie Profile event. So seeing as how Maria is the carry here, we need to increase her damage output by as much as we can, so 15% rush mode damage is very excellent, sitting at 150 hits or more. That's very easy to get, actually, especially considering that Maria excels in hit count based parties. It also increases the hit counter by 1 second, so it makes it a little easier to raise that hit count. So onto her battle skill setup. This is what I like to run. So Sinstral Edge, because it's very fast, doesn't cost a lot of AP, and you can charge assault it into close range. Dextral Slaughter, because again, it's also very fast, doesn't cost a lot of AP, and you can charge assault this into long range. And then, as her main attack, Northern Cross, because like I said, if you use this from close range, it actually does more damage, so you can charge assault Sinstral Edge into close range, and then spam Northern Cross as much as you want, or you can charge assault Northern Cross to go for that 50% attack damage buff, and stay safe while fighting from range. And with this setup, the combo I recommend you use is a normal attack into Sinstral Edge, into Dextral Slaughter, into Northern Cross. I highly recommend you charge assault Sinstral Edge to get into close range, and then non-charge assault all of your attacks from that point on so that you can stay in close range and do your damage. Now when it comes to party building, Maria is actually a special case because she is so damn overpowered that the best course of action is to always build a party completely centered around her. So, the first character that I recommend is a Vampire Victor, who increases the party's damage by 40%, increases their elemental damage by 15%, and he also gives everybody a huge 15% HP lifesteal. And then secondly, as our party's attack buffer, I recommend a Cat Reina, who buffs the party's attack by 40% or 60% for all close-range weapon allies. She also gives every single attacker AP recovery on normals, and she also reduces the AP cost on dodges for every single attacker. And both Victor and Reina can actually buff single target damage by 40% post-rush. So the third party member that we have here is Lazard. He has the unique ability to convert 50% of int for all sharpshooters, attackers, and defenders to their attack stat, and he also has very good hit counts on his attacks. So the main reason why Victor is here is because of his lifesteal. It's so incredibly powerful, especially on a Blossom Maria, because she mostly uses normal attacks to recover AP, so pairs very well with her. And he also has that elemental damage buff, and seeing as how elemental damage factors aren't that common yet on weapons, you can very easily rely on this. So like I said, you want to buff Blossom Maria as much as you can, which is why we have a Cat Reina here with that 60% attack buff for close range weapon allies. 2B also has a 60% attack buff, but that one is tied to HP, whereas Cat Reina's one is basically permanent for Blossom Maria. And then of course AP recovery on normals, that also pairs well with Victor's lifesteal. And with Lazard in that last spot, we can increase our hit count incredibly quickly, and that also pairs very well with the Head Sorcerer's Handkerchief that you most likely are going to be running on Blossom Maria. And then of course that conversion also increases Maria's attack by about 700, so yeah, he does a lot of work. The one thing that you should keep in mind when you're party building with Blossom Maria is that she really doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. You can actually throw her into whatever party you want, and she's still going to be one of the strongest characters that we have in the game. So to recap, Blossom Maria is a DPS carry, and she does her job very well, which mostly comes down to the fact that she has a very high attack stat. She has a base attack stat of 3700, and she also has a talent that can even further increase her attack stat based on hit count. That 3700 attack stat also means that attack buffs, like party-wide attack buffs, are a lot more potent than they are for other characters. And not only does she have a very high attack stat, she's also incredibly agile, which comes down to the fact that she uses dual blades, and her battle skills are also very range versatile, not to mention fast, and all of this boils down to the fact that Maria can dish out damage like nobody else. And you see, this is where I usually list the downside that a character may have, but honestly, I can't think of a single thing that she doesn't excel at. She has basically every single base covered. She is truly deserving of the title of best character in the game. And that does it for my Cherry Blossom Maria guide. I am going to do one for Diaz as well, so stay tuned for that, and I guess that about does it for me. So, hope that was helpful, and I guess I will see you all next time. Peace!